What's up, y'all? It's cracking this D. About to react to this vid by K Explorer. This is What's It Like Being Black in Korea. Nobody asked for this video. I just want to watch it, so I'm sharing it with y'all, you know, my reaction to it. Because I'm going to Korea next year, more than likely. So, yeah, I want to see what they got to say before I step foot, you know, in South Korea. We're going to see what's happening over there. Let's watch.
What's your name and where you're from?
My name is Hope. I'm from the UK and I'm from South Africa.
What would you say like your nationality is?
I have dual citizenship, so I am both British and South African, but I classify myself more South African than British.
My name is Uyi. I'm from the UK as well. I'm Nigerian by descent. I would classify myself as Black British.
I'm from the States, Washington, and I've been here for 6 weeks now.
So I actually just got to South Korea 2 days ago. Yeah, and I'm from South Central Los Angeles.
Hey!
I'm from the Democratic Republic of
I want to talk to him.
In Africa, Central Africa, and I've been in Korea for 12 years now.
Oh,
I'm from Mozambique,
hey.
and I've been in South Korea for 2 years.
How has your experience living in Korea been so far?
Quite enjoyable. I've enjoyed myself a lot.
Nice.
There'll be random moments where people might stare, but sometimes if you just smile at people, they smile back and they're nice. And sometimes they're not, but overall, nice experience.
You know, why did you smile at people?
I know people talk about... I'll talk about it later.
It helps make me feel less uncomfortable, and instead of assuming, because I am different, so people are gonna be like, oh, what's that? But that doesn't mean it's hate. So instead of assuming someone doesn't like me, just smile. And some people will like start conversation with you, asking more about yourself. So I think it's just nicer to be nice and see what people give back. And if they end up judging you, then move on. But if they're nice, then enjoy the moment.
I think that overall they're really lovely people. Like in terms of customer service and things like that, it doesn't really matter who you are. They kind of just do what, you know, you ask them, and they're ready to help and things like that. I'm not going to say that there's not been some uncomfortable times, but I think that there are uncomfortable people in the UK as well. Overall, I think they're quite lovely people, and it's been a really good experience. So yeah.
My experience has been very positive. I go to Hanyang University, so I study Korean there, and it's mostly positive. I've never had anyone discriminate against me, or like, everyone is nice here. I got lost in the subway a few times, and people were like genuinely nice, and they helped me a lot.
And you just made mention that you go to Hanyang University, like that's one of like the top universities in Korea. How did you get in?
So I just graduated high school, so I got a scholarship to go study Korean in Hanyang University for like 7 weeks. So that's how I'm in Hanyang right now. It's not that I'm like smart or anything.
It's been not bad, actually. It's been pretty awesome. I normally go to Asia like every single year, but since the pandemic happened, like I haven't been to Asia in about 2.5 years. But normally I go to Japan, and I've been going to Japan for the past like 6 years. But I've been to Taiwan, I've been to Hong Kong. After this, I'm going to Thailand. So I mean, I love being out in Asia.
I love Asia.
Why do you like being out in Asia?
I think it has something different to offer. I think that there's like new types of experiences. Korea, for example, I love the fandom. I love the passion when it comes to food, when it comes to culture, also when it comes to art. And that attracts me a ton.
What do you do for a living in Korea?
I'm an engineer in AI domains. Yeah. So
what's it like, you know, being a black person in Korea?
Well, there sure are many challenges, and it depends on where you come from. So because I came here when it was in my early 20s, and I kind of it was my first experience in another country, and I
he in his early 30s? He look good.
And get used to live here. So for me, it's kind of smooth, but for most of people, they are more sensitive about many cultural differences or many other things like the stirrings or those things. It's difficult to adapt. I think because I came in quite a young stage of my life, I had time to adjust with the culture. But I think if you have already a lot of cultural baggages, it can be very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, so I think people are more likely to acknowledge that I'm British, and I'm more excited that I'm British. So yeah, people are more like, let me practice English with you. You have a British accent, so they're more interested in the fact that I'm British than being black. So
I don't know if they see me as British. I think they see me as black because most of the time I literally look at me. But and also because of my hair, I definitely do feel very much black because maybe they want to touch my hair or they want to talk about my hair or they're talking about my hair because they think I can't understand what they're saying, even though I understand a little bit of Korean these days. But yeah, like I think being a black person, I think is safer than the UK. Honestly, it's not that bad. Obviously, they're gonna stare because it's a homogenous society. They don't really see us on an everyday basis, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think it is.
I mean, personally, I haven't experienced any type of racism directly. Like until now, I'm fine. I'm doing fine.
Yes, you are.
I've been very positive. Like there are times where people stare and like some ajima touched my hair, who was sitting next to me in the train. But like I was like, it's okay. Like it might not be comfortable, but that's fine. But like I don't know why, but my experience has been like very positive. No one has ever like discriminated against me or anything. And I also live with like host family, so they're also like extra nice. And like some people also like complimented my hair sometimes. My experience has been like very positive.
So I've been coming to Asia for the past like 7 years, and compared to Los Angeles, compared to America, I haven't experienced the same type of racism or prejudice. I've actually been very welcomed in Asia. Starting off in Japan, that was the first country I've been to in Asia. And I was welcome. I've met tons of people, tons of friends who welcome me open arms. And of course, there's always those awkward moments where you catch someone like staring at you, or if you try to hail a taxi, they'll just drive right by you. And to be honest, I experience that more in America. And I experience more racism in America than I do in Asia.
Earlier on, you made mention as to like, they would like to touch your hair. How would you feel about them touching your hair? Like, take for instance, take like permission. Like, would you allow them to touch your hair?
I have allowed it. It's a bit of a mixed feeling. I'm not really angry. It's a bit strange sometimes because sometimes they don't ask me. They're just like, oh, your hair is really nice. It's like, okay, we're in a pandemic. But overall, I do understand that they're just curious because they've never seen something like that before. And I do understand the other people that I've heard say that they don't want people to touch them. It's just a personal space, personal option, so I get it. But I don't really mind so long as they ask for permission and stuff. It's okay.
And how would you say, like your dating experience has been so far as a person of color in Korea?
No, I think it's similar like to when I was back home. I don't know because I mostly used online stuff rather than like direct. But I think for a person of color, I've seen so many couple in the streets working, so I think it's not that difficult for at least black men. For black women, I also. Well, that is another subject because I think nowadays it's changing, but first when I came in Korea, it was more common to see a foreigner man with a Korean girl than seeing a Korean guy with a foreigner girl, which is changing kind of nowadays, like compared to 10 years ago. So I think for a black woman it can still kind of tricky because I think from my experience, Korean men are not as much open as Korean women. So yeah, I think like that.
Since I came, I would say let me tell you this, I don't have a problem with girls. I haven't had a problem, so
you're a fine looking man.
Yes, so I'm honestly I'm in a relationship right now. I've been before, so I mean I don't have a problem with girls.
I think some certain people are going to be more likely to date foreigners, but I feel like if they are dating foreigners, they're more likely to lean to white than black. So there is a very, very few people who are likely to lean towards dating black people, but I think overall people usually just stick to their own.
Based on your personal, like opinion, why do you think they actually lean or into dating, like Western, like white Western people?
Why?
Because of like colonization and everything. So it is very much like white beauty is the standard for everyone. So it's like they are white, so they meet the standards more than everyone else. And I feel like even though they are likely to date like more white people, it's still sometimes it can be more of a fetishization than actually just dating someone because they just happen to be white. But sometimes you're just purposely dating someone because they're a different race.
I think that the language barrier is always a big factor into that anyway. And then there's also like the societal pressure. I think that a lot of Koreans, from my understanding or what other people have told me, is that a lot of the Korean parents would rather their children stay with Korean people in general. So regardless of being black or white or anything, they'd rather they were Korean. And then on top of
this don't bother me at all. I ain't trying to live here.
It's so different. You know, that is almost like, that's almost a no-go area. So I think a lot of young people that even may be interested in dating black people, they feel that kind of pressure to not do that. And then there's also the fetishization part. So we don't know if they're interested in us based on this or based on that. Could be said for both sides, honestly. So yeah, I think they are more open, but I do think that for black women, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's always been. So yeah.
한국어 공부한 계기가 언제쯤이었어요?
저는 원래 태권도 좋아했었고 그래서 그냥 뭔가 처음에는 한국 그 드라마 보기 시작했고 그리고 한국 예능 보다가 그냥 너무 멋있다고 생각해서 한국어를 배우기 시작했어요.
Have you, like, faced any type of racism or discrimination while living in Korea?
I'm trying to think, but I think the answer is going to be more of a no than a yes. More like the yes will be if I'm walking and like people are just staring at me and then they'll go to their friend like, oh, my name's it's a black person, and they're just looking at me like, so then I'm like, okay, avoid these people. But no one's ever like came to me and like said anything that was racist. All I've had more than anything else is stares, and people are more likely, like my hair, when I took them out of my braids, people were like, oh wow, your hair's so beautiful. So people have been more nice than anything else.
It's more indirect, like kind of what she said. It's indirect. No one's come up to me and said, oh, you, and then insulted me. But I think maybe the moving away in the trains, like moving away or not sitting down. Obviously, sometimes they're just not sitting down because they're not sitting down. I know it's not. So I know that. But there are other times where it's clear that they don't want to be around us. Do you remember? We went to the cinema. Yes, we went to the cinema. And then when we left, there was an elevator going down. So there was a woman already in there. We went in. We didn't really say anything. She came out and she stood and waited for the next one. But she was going down because we saw, so it was quite weird because it was a really big elevator and we were the only people in it, the three of us. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not saying she's racist, but I don't see why else she would have left if not because she was uncomfortable. So it's things like that overall, but not like, direct, really just really there. So that's the experience.
주로 한국 사람들 만났을 때 본인한테 어떤 질문이라든가 아니면 어떤 느낌은 아니면 어떤 질문이 주로 물어봤던 것 같아요.
한국인들은 저한테 봤을 때는 와, 이분이 혹시 미국 분이신가요? 미국 분이 있는지 아니면 어떤
Where you saying from? I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted.
They think like I came from those 그런 생각을 하는데 저 100%
yeah, he said Africa. He said some with M.
아프리카 사람인데 스타일이랑 입는 곳을 다 보시면은 그 미국 사람이랑 이렇게 다.
Oh wow, this was really interesting to hear. I'm definitely going to South Korea after hearing their experiences. But yeah, I was gonna say when I paused the vid that I never experienced anything odd in Asia either. No one has ever, discriminated against me or made me feel uncomfortable. Or touched me or anything like that. No, that's a lie. When I was in the Philippines, I was in Manila, and I was like in their red light district. I went to the strip club, and as soon as I stepped in the fucking strip club, like a whole bunch of girls just swarmed around me, and they're like touching me, and oh, you're so pretty. Oh, your hair is so beautiful. So that's, only time I've been touched, but it's like, it kind of makes sense. They're very aggressive in that area, okay? So they were just very touchy and like trying to get me to buy drinks and, you know, do whatever the fuck else. You know, so that made sense, but never when I'm like out and about and people have like touched me or anything or tried to like touch my hair randomly. That's never happened. That was the only time ever that I've been in Asia and someone has touched me or touched my hair. But that was like a different type of environment. But yeah, everybody has always been really respectful, you know, towards me in all of the countries I've been to in Asia. I've never gotten any like weird looks or had anybody like treat me differently or anything at all. And I would always hear stories of people saying like, oh, be careful in Asia because they'll try to, you know, disrespect you, or they treat black women this way, or they try to pet you. And that just has never happened aside from, you know, when I was in Manila. But I didn't even take that as them trying to pet me. Like, it didn't come across disrespectful or like they were trying to treat me like an object. It just came across like they were trying to, you know, get some money out of me. That's how that came across. So, yeah, I've always had good experiences in Asia. I love Asia, and I definitely am pretty sure I'm going to go next year. Probably like Japan and South Korea and some other places. So, yeah, I will be reporting on my experiences on my OnlyFans if you're interested. But yeah, it was really nice hearing, you know, their perspective and hear what they have to say, because, you know, you always hear a different type of shit and people saying like, oh, black people don't go here, or be careful when you go there because they gonna do this and they gonna do that. And it's like, nigga, every country is different. Like, Asia is a whole ass continent. There are so many different countries there. You know, different people will have different experiences depending on where they go and, you know, how they come across. It's just so many factors that come into play. So you can't just take someone's experience and think that that's the experience you're going to have, or be afraid and think that people are going to treat you this type of way because you look like this. Like, that's not always the case. So, you know, just, I'd recommend watching videos like this and doing research and, you know, Googling some shit if you want to conclude if you should visit a country or not based on your skin tone or your gender or whatever. But yeah, this was a really informative video. I enjoyed it. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want me to watch, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye!